Hello YouTube. One of the big, most kind of controversial arguments people have in the saltwater aquarium hobby, reef keeping hobby is water. You know, can you actually collect seawater yourself and just collect it? And is that safe? And you know, when I first got in this hobby over 15, 16 years ago, I remember being on forums and that would be debated. Most people would say, no, you shouldn't. The water is polluted. Or if you're going to use natural seawater, you know, take a boat out into the ocean and collect it out there. Otherwise, it's not safe. And the fact is, I've been collecting it at kayak launch places here in Southwest Florida for 15 years, and I've never had a problem. So really, the only people who make that argument that you should not collect seawater are people who don't do it. You know, that's just probably a pretty much natural thing where people, you know, will criticize things they don't understand. But yes, you can do it, okay? As long as you're going to a place, I mean, I probably wouldn't advise collecting seawater at a marina, you know, with hundreds of boats around, you know, with whatever leaking out of it. But if you go to a site like kayak launch spots or something like that, or even on the beach, okay, as long as there's not thousands of people, you know, in the water is so diluted, okay, that the amount of pollution or chemicals or whatever is so minuscule, it's just not a problem. I mean, if you're seeing fish swimming around in the water, obviously it's fine for them, okay, or they wouldn't be there, they'd be floating belly up. So yes, you can collect seawater and you can use it, and that will save you a lot of money if you live near the ocean. So how do you go about collecting seawater? Well, I'm just going to show you just real simple what I've been doing over the years or how I do it. So let's just take a look. We'll look at containers and methods and a typical place where I go to collect. And these are 3-gallon water storage containers. I would recommend these over the 5 or 6 gallon because they're just more manageable to carry, and I think they would last longer because without the weight of the water in it, I think these will last longer and won't fall apart as soon, and they're just easier to carry. I'm not going to use these because I have another option I'm going to try. But if I were going to buy water carriers, I would go to these 3 gallons from now on instead of the 5 or 6 gallons. Okay, these are some of the water containers I was using to do my water changes with. These are 5-gallon here, those are 6-gallon, and I was using those for several years. They are very expensive to buy, and they are really heavy to move, so I'm kind of convinced that the 3-gallon is the best way to go. Or what I'm going to show you, the chlorine buckets, the old chlorine buckets I'm going to use, which I have a tap on to use, because these obviously, you know, went bad. They did last for several years, but they're just really expensive. You know, the advantage of these is you could store water and let it sit for weeks or even months and then do the water change because they're not clear and there was no light getting into the containers. So that's why I like these. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, to save money so I don't have to buy stuff, I'm going to use the chlorine buckets, which I'll show you right now. Okay, so what I'm going to be using from now on and switching to, so I don't have to pay extra money for, are these chlorine. Since I have a pool, I'm going to be using these chlorine buckets because they have a locking lid. Okay, so if I'm going to store salt water for several weeks, so I can use later, that way the lid will be locked and light won't get through this either, especially having it on the north side of the home where they're along the side of the house where I usually keep them. Won't be any sunlight getting through, so that'll keep the water safe, and what will happen is everything will oxidize. If there's any living things in the water I collect, it'll oxidize over a couple of weeks and become harmless. Okay? So this one is about empty. I still got a few chlorine tablets in it, but this will be the first one that I'll start using. Then as I go through chlorine tablets, I'll just be pulling a few of these out, and I'll be collecting water in these. I won't fill it to the top because I think that'll be too heavy. So I'll probably fill it up to about this mark here, be about 3 gallons, 3.5 gallons. So if I have about 3 of these or so, that'll be enough for me to use or to even store some water if I want. So I'll get 3 or 4 of these over the next year or so, and that's what I'll be using to collect seawater for my aquariums. Okay, so I'm at a kayak launch place. This is a typical place I would get salt water for the aquariums. So right now I'm using these little 1-gallon things. I'll be switching to pool buckets, but it'll take a while. So just take the caps off. Do 2 at a time here. Some fiddler crabs down here. And I just go down. The only main thing, I'm just going to try to avoid floating stuff. See, there's fish swimming around. There's no reason that wouldn't be safe. So I'm just trying to find a little hole where there's not a bunch of floating shit. Okay, and that's all I do. There, almost. There we go. All right. All right, that's how we do it. Okay, so hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to let me know in the comments section below. I'll be glad to answer your questions if you have any questions or comments about it. If you'd like to support the channel, just click one of the Amazon links below. Some of my favorite aquarium products, saltwater aquarium products. All right, so hopefully this helps, and I'll see you later. Bye.